Yo, so if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I love overanalyzing characters. It's probably one of my favorite things to do when it comes to analyzing series, and there's just so many different aspects of characters to talk about. No matter how much I talk about certain characters, there always seems to be more shit to talk about every time. Because just like real people, characters can have so many aspects and traits that each character brings something super unique to the table. Especially in things like anime, where settings can be so unique and fantastical, and they can create characters that match that level of novelty. I find it even more interesting from the perspective of the author, mainly because of how much careful consideration goes into crafting characters. Their motivations, their flaws, their relationships, all of this is carefully crafted to make the character fit into the setting, which makes it even more surprising and interesting when you see two characters from separate series that are so similar, almost to the point where those characters are exactly the same. And it would be one thing if these similarities ended on a superficial level, but these characters are similar on a deep emotional level and in the way that they affect their series. So much so to the point where some of these authors might get accused of plagiarism. Now, I don't think any of the characters on this list were plagiarized, but you never know. Starting out with Aizen and Kenjaku. I don't think this one surprises anybody. Kenjaku was clearly heavily inspired by Aizen. Their most direct parallel is in their relationship to the main character, because in both of their respective series, they kind of made the main character. Like, Ichigo wouldn't be nearly as strong as he is if it wasn't for Aizen fucking around with hollows and shit. And similarly, Yuji wouldn't be nearly as strong as he is if it wasn't for Kenjaku fucking around with cursed spirits and shit. Cursed wombs and all that. Like when Aizen told Ichigo, "I've known about you since the day you were born." Nigga, I got up out my seat. There's something about villains like that have taken so much preparation before they even get to the main character. It just makes them feel so much more menacing, like terrifying, because the whole time that they're in the story, it's like, we don't know how much of this they have planned already. We don't know what plans they have for the future, and it always feels like we're playing to their whims, no matter what happens. Even when we're winning, it feels like they already planned on us winning. But even deeper than that, another thing that makes their characters feel so similar is that it feels like they're both driven by a deep boredom. For Aizen and for Kenjaku, it just feels like y'all niggas don't got nothing better to do, just experimenting on people, fucking with people for what? Just cause they felt like it. Which, personally, I enjoy in a villain. These two niggas are just a special kind of dickhead. Next, we have Sanji and Killua, and to be honest, I'm surprised I haven't seen more people talk about this comparison, because it feels so obvious to me. These two are also very similar in the way that their dynamic is with the main character, because for both of these characters, their respective main characters is like their rock. They keep them grounded. I always go back to that one quote from Killua where he's thinking about Gon, and he's looking directly at Gon, and he says, "Gon, you are the sun." First of all, Killua, you're gay as f. But that quote is very emblematic of Killua and Gon's relationship, as well as Sanji and Luffy's relationship. But the main thing that connects Killua and Sanji is their backstory is like damn near exactly the same. They were both raised by an abusive family of assassins, forced to endure torture methods as forms of training. On top of that, both their families are prestigious, and they're forced to endure a lot of things to keep their family's name intact. They even both have an arc where they get forcefully taken back in by their abusive assassin family, and the main character and the rest of the characters have to come and save them. I think the only real difference between Sanji and Killua is at least Killua's family kind of fucks with him, right? They at least think that nigga got some potential, he worth something as a human being. Sanji's family thinks he is a worthless burden, but hey, are they wrong though? And Sanji's mom was cool and nice, and Killua's mom is a crazy bitch. So next, I want to talk about Guts and Zoro. Yep, we talked about Sanji. I got to talk about his little boyfriend too. Guts and Zoro are probably one of the more weird comparisons in this video, mainly because they come from completely different genres of series with a completely different target demographic. But Zoro is like the PG version of Guts. Like, one, Zoro stole that nigga whole haircut. Like, that shit's wild, Oda. You not getting away with that shit. But for real, I always say Zoro is like Guts if his life wasn't completely dog shit from beginning to end. Personality wise, they're both super standoffish. When the rest of the crew or when the rest of the main characters are hanging out, they're always sitting off to the side by themselves. But they're also both super nice, even though they want people to think that they're not. Like, they always try to look scary, and they are scary, but when you actually get to know them, they're like the nicest niggas in the world. But what really makes Zoro and Guts so similar is their character motivations and their goals. They are both really obsessed with proving that they're the strongest, and they will go out of their way to put themselves in a handicap to prove to other people that they're stronger than them. But it's such a good character trait for a swordsman. It makes them so much cooler because they're gonna put themselves in a bad situation purposely just to prove that they're better than you. And that boils all the way down to their fighting style. They both use completely inconvenient fighting styles just to prove how strong and dominant they are. But on on a deeper level, I think what I like about Zoro and Guts is the subtle way that the story displays both of their insecurities. For Zoro, his insecurity stems from his relationship with Kuina. For Guts, his insecurity stems from a whole bunch of shit. We don't even gotta get into that. But the way that their insecurities affect them and make them both have to go above and beyond to prove things to themselves, them niggas are exactly the same, bro. Now let's talk about Kaneki and P. I just read Goodnight Pum Pum for the first time, and the whole time I was reading it, I was thinking the messaging behind this character and just the kind of person he is reminds me of something so much, and I couldn't figure out what. I figured it out. It's Kaneki. Maybe because throughout both stories there's this continuous trend where Kaneki and Pum Pum will continuously lie to themselves or lie to other people around them, either to be kind or to be considerate or out of a fear of confrontation or being disliked, and this leads to them bottling things up until they end up in a shitty situation because of themselves, and they end up lashing out at everyone around them. I think for Kaneki the best example is that iconic scene where he's getting tortured by Jason and Rize comes to him in his mind schizophrenic world, and she basically says to him, like, you trying to be a nice guy ends up getting you and other people fucked over because you just can't make a decision. And this same thing happens a lot to Pum Pum, where his relationships with other people ends up either going completely wrong or he ends up getting used by that person, sometimes without that other person even realizing that they're using him, simply because he's so agreeable and so nice about everything. And this seems to be consistent in every relationship that Pum Pum gets into. Even the conclusions of their characters are very similar. After all of their struggles throughout the entirety of the story, they finally come to the conclusion that there is no perfect world waiting for me. There is no objective truth that I'm gonna find that's gonna make my life great and perfect. And the resolution of their characters is being okay with that. So, you know, in conclusion, they're both complete pussies. Speaking of complete pussies, nah, that's crazy. Our final duo is Deku and Kobe. Probably the most direct comparison on this list. Like, these characters are so similar that it almost feels like it's on purpose. From where their characters start from, to what their character motivations are, down to what their certain relationships are with certain other characters. But let's start from the beginning. For both Kobe and Deku, they both want to become these bastions of hope and heroes in their society. But in the beginning of the story, they're both weak as shit. There's no way they can do that until they meet another character that instills them with the courage and the hope that they can do it, and they both resolve to do it because this other person believes in them. And to be honest, being a hero in the My Hero Academia world and being a Marine in the One Piece world are very similar. They're both government sanctioned programs that have to work within the bounds of the law, but now that I think about it, both Deku and Kobe found ways to undermine that. Deku with his little vigilante arc where he goes off by himself, and Kobe with Sword. They both decide, I don't need to follow the law if I think what I want to do is better than the law, or if I think it has better outcomes for people. But for both of them, for the most part, they want to be on the right side of the law. And on top of that, Sword is kind of like Class 1A. They are the next generation of heroes being raised up by the older heroes. But I think the thing that makes Deku and Kobe the most similar is their relationships to All Might and Garp respectively. And when you bring Garp and All Might into it, it kind of makes this a 2-for-1, because Garp and All Might are super similar too. They're both considered like the top heroes in their world. The people look to them for hope and for protection, and they both have like a similar bravado to them, which also works to exemplify Kobe and Deku similarities, because unlike Garp and All Might, Kobe and Deku are super reserved and pensive, which leads to their individual mentors having to talk to them and give them confidence in moments where they feel disconfident. Most recently, the moment on Hachinosu with Garp and Kobe, where Garp literally has to tell Kobe, my nigga, you're strong. Act like it. Even in the way that these people meet each other, because for both Garp and All Might, they meet Kobe and Deku when they're weak as shit with no powers, and they don't think anything of them until they see them do some heroic shit to save their friend, and that's when they decide to take them under their wing. Which is just another similar quality between Deku and Kobe, where they will sacrifice themselves to save other people. And I can't emphasize enough just how similar these relationships are, all the way down to the fact that Deku and Kobe both take their mentor's attack naming scheme and just steal it, because they both just look up to their mentors and they are the spitting image of what they want to be in their respective field. And not only do they expect themselves to live up to that, and not only do their mentors expect them to live up to that, but the wider world around them also expects them to become that same type of symbol. And honestly, that's one of my favorite type of characters, especially Kobe. I love Kobe. Shout out to my nigga. But yeah, man, that's all I got for y'all boys today. Let me know 2 characters that you think are exactly the same in the comments below. And if you made it to the end of the video, just put I am here in all caps. Confuse all the niggas that didn't watch the full video. Like the video if you like the video. But come on, bro, you know you like the video. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, man, I'm gone.